Write the limit of a Riemann sum that represents the definite integral from 0 to pi of sine of x dx using the right endpoint rule. I'm going to do a little recap, an explanation of the limit of a Riemann sum, in case it didn't make sense to you when you heard it the first time, or perhaps this is your first time. However, if this makes sense to you, feel free to fast forward the video to where we dig into the meat of this problem for this particular integral. So the limit of a Riemann sum means we want to do the limit and let the number of rectangles under the curve approach infinity. The more rectangles we can fit under the curve, the more accurate our answer is for the area. And we are summing up the area of a bunch of rectangles. So from I equals 1, and again, the number of rectangles is what we're calling n, so we're letting n approach infinity. And the area of a rectangle can be computed as length times width or base times height, whichever you prefer. And that's what we're going to be putting here. So we're going to do our length times our width or our base times our height, and we want to fill in these blanks next. So to help you figure out what the base and the height are going to be written as, I'm going to draw a quick diagram to help explain. So we're going to have some sort of a nice continuous function. I'm just calling this function f of x. And we're interested in computing the area between this curve and the x-axis from a to b. So we're going to create a subinterval. And our first subinterval is going to go from a to some unknown x value. And so we first want to figure out how far should we be moving over to the right? What is the length of this first subinterval? And to figure that out, we first need to figure out how far is it all the way from A to B? What is this horizontal distance? And that horizontal distance is going to be the value of B minus A. And then we're going to divide that into a certain number of subintervals. And sometimes the problem will tell you to use 5 subintervals or 4 subintervals. But in this problem, we don't have the number of subintervals. We're letting the number of subintervals go to infinity. So we're just going to leave this generic and write this as n. So this is what we call our delta x. It's also the base of our rectangle, if you want to think about this geometrically. So that delta x is going to be this distance right here from A to our first question mark. This distance here is our delta x. It is the base of our first rectangle. So B minus A divided by n. That's going to be our delta x. So I'm going to go ahead and put our delta x here. You could put it in the first parenthesis if you wanted to, if you're thinking base times height, but we know that height times base is the same thing. So I'm calling the base of my rectangle my delta x, and I know I find that delta x by computing B minus A divided by n. So I'm going to erase my question mark for this x value here, and we're going to rewrite that. There we go. We're going to rewrite that instead of calling it a question mark. I'm just going to call that my x sub 1. Because if I look at this first interval, it starts at A and it ends at x sub 1. The right-hand side of that interval would be x sub 1. So that's the right-hand side of my first interval. And we want to think about how I can actually write an expression for x sub 1. So think of x sub 1 like your first x value. So my first x value is found by starting at the A value and then adding the delta x onto it. So A plus delta x will give us that first x value. So now we're going to move over from x sub 1 and we want to get to our next x value. We'll call that x sub 2. So I'm going to draw that interval, make it blue. My second subinterval is going from x sub 1 to x sub 2. And again, the distance from x sub 1 to x sub 2, that's my delta x, the base of that rectangle. So an expression that would let me find that second x value, which is the right side of the second interval, an expression for that would be starting at A, but this time I'm adding not just one delta x, but 2 delta x's onto that. So A plus 2 delta x will get us our x sub 2. And we could continue doing this on and on. If I were to do my third x value, I would add yet another delta x. So that would be A plus 3 delta x. And hopefully by this point you can see a pattern, so we'll just generalize this for any x value. I'll say x sub I, where I could be any of those natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 100, any value. We are going to find x sub I by taking that a value, and then we're going to be adding on, notice, let me highlight for you, that the number of delta x's that you're adding on is the same as your subscript. So if I'm adding 2 delta x's, that was my x sub 2. So in this case then, I'm going to add I delta x's. So this would be I times delta x for my x sub I. And we know multiplication can be written in any order. So if you prefer to rewrite this, like many textbooks will show, this was going to be the same as delta x times I. So either of these last two expressions are acceptable. We tend to use this one here a lot. So that's how we get our expression for x sub I. And x sub I represents the right-hand side of each one of our subintervals. So once again, going back to our diagram, if we were going to draw in our first rectangle, the one that I have in red, the right side of the interval is my x sub 1. So I'd go up to my curve, and that y value would be the height of my first rectangle here. So this y value right here, that is the output. It is the output when I put in x sub 1. The height of that first rectangle would be f of x sub 1. And if I were to draw in my second rectangle, if I did that one, let's say in blue here, and looked at the second rectangle, this second rectangle in blue, its height would be found by putting x sub 2 into the function. So the output, the y value, would be f of x sub 2. So going back to my limit, that's why when we put the height of the rectangle into the limit of our Riemann sum, we write that as f of x sub I. So we have f of x sub I, which represents the height of each of my rectangles, and then delta x represents the base of each of my rectangles. And then I'm multiplying the base times the height here because I'm computing the area of all of my rectangles. I'm using summation notation because I'm summing up all of those areas. And then finally, I'm letting the number of rectangles approach infinity and taking the limit so I can get the actual exact area under the curve. And this is called a limit of a Riemann sum. So there's the background. Now let's dig into the actual values in this problem. So going back to the original problem, the definite integral that we were given said that we were integrating from 0 to pi. So now we have our a and our b values. So I'm going to scoot over and redo this computation, but now we're going to do it for this given problem. So for this problem, our a value is going to be 0. Our b value is pi. So when we compute our delta x, b minus a divided by n, that'll be pi minus 0 divided by the number of rectangles, which is n. And therefore, our delta x is going to be pi divided by n. So delta x is equal to pi over n. So that'll be important when we write the limit of our Riemann sum. Therefore, our x sub I is our a value, which is 0, plus our delta x, which is pi divided by n, times I. So here's the next important component that we need to write the limit of a Riemann sum. So let's take both of those expressions and come back to our limit. So we'll take the limit as n approaches infinity. We're summing up a bunch of areas from I equals 1 to n. And now we have the height times the base. The height is f of x sub I. So in this case, that would be f of our x sub I, which is 0 plus pi over ni. I'm not going to bother writing the 0. Let's just write pi over ni times our delta x, and our delta x was pi divided by n. So back over here, I'm not really writing the 0. I'm just writing this as pi over ni for my x sub I, simplifying that, which is why I have it as f of pi over ni. And then the last thing that we need is just to determine the actual function here. And we know that the function is found right here in our integral. The function was sine of x. So we have the limit as n approaches infinity of the summation from I equals 1 to n. And rather than doing f of pi over ni, we know that we're going to input that pi over ni into our sine function. So it will be sine of pi over ni. That will get us the heights of all of our rectangles times pi over n. And if you want to put this in big brackets like so, you can. And this is going to be the limit of the Riemann sum, and this is equivalent to the exact area under the curve, which is the definite integral from 0 to pi of sine of x dx. These are two equivalent ways of writing the same thing, communicating the same mathematical idea. The area between the curve and the x-axis from 0 to pi.